There we, there we go. Now I can hear you guys.
Sound check. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Sunday, another wonderful day, and it's another edition of Bar Talk. Bar Talk is brought to you by Moment to Remember Studios here in Sunrise, Florida. So whether you need that passport picture, something simple as a passport picture, or your next major occasion, Moment to Remember is here to help you get through those major events. Of course, it's also brought to you by Jamaicans.com. Jamaicans.com is the leader for all things Caribbean, Jamaica, the Caribbean, and beyond. An amazing platform. And so we're just happy that you could join us today. Of course, you know, we have two very special guests in the audience. Well, one in the audience and one via Baltimore, which we'll introduce shortly. But let's do a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. As you know, we are being viewed from all over the world, so whether it's China, Russia, Ghana, and here in Fort Lauderdale or Canada, anywhere. We like to know when you're on with us. So guess what? I would love for you to just text in, say hi, just tell us where you're coming from. If we don't get to all of them, please still do it because we just like to know that you're there. And we see them, believe it or not. If we can't answer all of them, but we see it and we're encouraged. All right, so guess what? Today, we have two men that are in our community doing a marvelous job. We've introduced one already to you, and he's no stranger to so many of us around South Florida. He's none other than the Mayor of Broward County, Mayor Dale V.C. Holness. Okay? And so the other person is a Democratic nominee for Supervisor of Elections for Broward County. The man himself, Mr. Joe Scott. And we will be tuning into them in a moment. But just for starters, folks, I just want, I know, Mayor, we've introduced you already on Jamaicans.com. But just in case somebody didn't get to you the first time, just give us a quick thing. Where in Jamaica you're from? I'm going to give you the three questions. Three is good. Where in Jamaica from? Where experiences brought up in Jamaica? And when Dale Holness is not doing all the Broward County stuff, what Dale Holness likes to do. Go ahead, sir.
Well, good evening again. I am Dale Holness, the mayor of Broward County. I was born in Hanover, in the hills of Hanover, place called Donalva, close to Cascade Pondside. If you know anywhere about those region, I lived in Montego Bay before I moved here to Florida at the age of 17 and being engaged here now since then. When I'm not doing all the things Broward, I read. As I said previously, I like to dance. Now COVID has taken away my ability to go out and do some dancing, but that's what I love.
Awesome, awesome. And coming all the way to us from Baltimore, whether he's on business or he's taking fun time, he deserves a break. So talk to us, Mr. Joe Scott.
Good evening. How you doing, Luke?
Doing good.
Man, yeah, thanks for having me on. Like you said, I'm the Democratic nominee for Supervisor of Elections. I am off traveling right now, and that's why I couldn't be with you all in studio. But that's what when I do when I take a little bit of time off is I like to travel, I like to read, and every now and then I try to stay fit as well and get some workouts in when I can.
Awesome, but listen, we have a population who like to get to know people. So give me an idea of exactly where you're born, what was your upbringing like, and when the presumptive supervisor of elections is not doing electoral stuff and all that kind of thing, what does he like to do?
So I was actually, believe it or not, I was born in Alaska. I am
Whoa.
an Army brat. My parents moved around from one military installation to another, and then they settled down here in Broward County when they decided to retire. And then my mother ended up retiring from the Broward County school system. So I've been a resident. I originally became a resident of Broward County in 2002 when I was serving in the military myself. And then I moved here permanently in 2014. So I've been here for a number of years now. And since I've been here, I've been very engaged in the community. A member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. I know there's probably quite a few of the Divine Nine folks out there watching the show. So I'm a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, and I've been engaged that way, as well as through some local community organizations as well.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So the topic today is practical ways of making positive change. And I've made it deliberately that wide, so both of you gentlemen can give me your total concept as far as we're moving forward. But I made sure that on the flyer I had three things that people need to focus their attention on. And one is 2020 census. Would you agree with me, Mayor?
Yes. Very important.
Secondly, your vote. 2020, your vote. And the third one is citizenship drive. So that's within the parameters of which we are operating today. We want, because too often, put it this way, people do a good talk and they go into meetings, right, Mayor? And they say a lot of things, but on election day or even prior to election, they make no attempt to exercise their right that can make a change. And too often, some people don't even get counted, and then they complain. So we want to address it, and I know this is a conversation that we have had from time to time with people. But as a supervisor of elections, just give me your insight of in your concept right now of what positive change for this country could mean if we woke up tomorrow and it is an ideal condition. What would that be? Yours.
Well, for me, I think positive change would be for us to start taking care of everybody in our community and making sure that folks have what they need to feel safe and secure, feel like they can have the career that they're looking for, find a good job, to be able to take care of their family and not have to worry about going broke if they get sick. We need to take care of people's health care and education and those type of things so that people can have a fulfilled life, find the right career, and raise their family under safe conditions and in a positive environment. And that's what I would consider to be just the ideal environment.
Mary, you want to take that away?
So what we would need is a restructuring of our system. One would be looking at the tax code to see how we ensure that not just those who are wealthy get breaks, and that we seek to invest in low-income communities and marginal communities, putting dollars in to build those communities, to invest in the areas that are most needed. And that's something we're attempting to do here in Broward County. In fact, we're on the way doing that now. We've identified 6 zip codes that have high poverty, high unemployment, and the prevailing misery that goes along with those economic conditions. So I would want to see us reinvest in the communities that have been left out, left behind, and the people who have been left out and left behind, and give them opportunities that they don't have now and empower them. The tax code, by the way, is a huge vehicle for change. For example, if we said to people who have money, if you invest in these communities and ensure that the people from those communities are employed, are trained, are part of the return on investment that is made, you could see a huge difference in these communities that have been marginal. So that would be a big place for us to be. The other thing that I'd say is this, in an ideal place, is that we show love and respect for everyone. No matter where your status of life is, whether you're rich, poor, or your ethnicity, or your social standing, or even your educational background, that we're all humans. And if we were to love and respect each other and show that we dignify everyone as a full human being, I think we'd see a whole lot of difference in this world.
One of the questions I got asked when I put out the flyer was that what do we do, because we talk about marginalized communities or people who are not necessarily in the upper echelons of society, or even middle class workers. And they're saying, people are saying to me, but these very marginalized community, or impoverished, if we want to use another word, community, are sometimes the hardest people to get to make change. And someone dared to say to me that they are the ones who have low voter turnout even to make change. How would you address that?
So basically, let's understand why they may have low voter turnout. If you think that the system doesn't work for you, and no matter what you do, nothing's going to change, then you're likely to disengage. Now, it's not the smart thing to do, but that's the sentiment that I know many feels. You know, what difference does it make if I vote? I can tell you this. Back in 1983, I was a volunteer for Jesse Jackson's campaign. 22-year-old young man in the Northwest community in 33311 zip code. At the time working for Fort Lauderdale and attending Broward College. And he said to us when we were out registering voters and trying to get engaged people to get involved, what difference does it make? You know, nothing's going to change. They're not going to let me president. This is speaking of Jesse Jackson. Yes. 22 years old. So he'd already lost hope, even though he was trying to make a life for himself. So understand that that is a part of why folks are not as engaged as they should be. So, but let's look at why. In the Northwest Fort Lauderdale area, a CRA, Community Reinvestment Area, was created for reinvesting tax dollars in that community. It's 24 years ago that this was put in place. Today, you look at the community, not a whole lot have changed, because the policies that were put in place didn't engage the community to the extent that it should have. So we spend tax dollars on the marginal side. In fact, they shifted that CRA to make it east of the railroad tracks. And you go downtown Fort Lauderdale, it takes a strong, and you go across the railroad track, you see all the developments. That wasn't there before.
Yes, I see that.
You come across the tracks, and now some is coming over there. But guess what? There was no requirement that the people in the community get any apprenticeship. No requirement that any of them from that community got a job. Okay. No requirement that any of the businesses in the community participate in this economic upliftment. Nothing at all was done that says this community is tied to these policies that were put in place to lift them up. What they're saying is we're going to go out and get investment in the area, but without anything in place to ensure that that community benefit from it. So what do you think happened? People from outside, wealthy people came in and got all the money. Still happening right now as I speak to you. Why wouldn't you become disenchanted with the system if that's the case? But I'll say this to you, that they ought not. They ought to ensure that they're voting even more so than the others. Because if you look at our tax code, it's influenced by those who are wealthy and those who go out and vote. They put policies in place, they put money behind it. to make sure that it benefits just those groups who already are empowered. Now, I'm working to change that in Broward County. As I told you, identify those zip codes that are high poverty, low unemployment, and then you have a whole lot of other stuff that goes along with that also. To change that, making direct investment in there, ensuring that the businesses from those communities are given every opportunity to grow and develop, putting apprenticeship programs in place, internship programs in place, targeting that community so that we're able to lift them up.
I hear that though, but how do you convince the people that's living in that community? Because I go there and I hear what you're saying. That term that talks about, what people mention about living across the tracks is literal in Sistrunk. All those high rise like you mentioned and then there is even, and I see that not even just in Sistrunk, but I go to Pompano Beach. I go as far as Delray Beach. I know it's in another county, but it's the same thing.
You go to Miami and across the track was over town Liberty City.
Yes,
the tracks on right there, and welts on one side, no welt on the other.
And it becomes even more blatant in the evenings in certain other communities, because in the evenings you're suspect if you're seen downtown. Sometimes, but if you cross the track, you don't see anybody downtown looking like the downtown over there. So there is already a sense of disbelief among the people. How do we then convince the people in these areas? Because they are the ones who are in a lot of times not voting. How we convince them that this is for them also?
So part of it is direct engagement within that community, going out, speaking to the people, being a part of the organizations that exist in that community, being a part of the Urban League, being a part of the NAACP that are housed there. And by the way, when I got involved in organization, you mentioned how can we change things, how should people engage? That's basically been my life. I was a Boy Scout, I was a part of the 4-H club. I came here, I was a part of student government. Here I was at Broward College, I was a senator. I got involved in Andrew DeGraffen's Rights campaign in '76, Jesse Jackson's campaign. I was a part of Operation Push. I became a part of the Realtors Association's Public Affairs Committee and the Political Action Committee, and that kind of helped get me here, Chambers of Commerce. So you see something that needs to be done and you engage, and you find a way to, if possible, fit into organizations that's already doing the work and become a part of that work, and even a catalyst to move those organizations forward. And the collective then helps to expand the opportunities that we have. And I'll tell you this, I'm proud of the work that I did with Jesse Jackson's campaign, because Jesse Jackson's campaign gave us Bill Clinton directly and gave us Obama directly. How? Well, one, when Jesse went out and registered all these young people and all these minorities, Bill Clinton, the Democratic Party, benefit from it directly. Also, Ron Brown, who was Jesse Jackson's campaign manager, Jesse insisted that he became a part of the leadership in the Democratic Party and was the leader of the Democratic Executive Committee that helped to bring Clinton in and actually manages Clinton campaign. And he changed the rules in terms of apportionment of delegates that directly benefit Obama, because Obama didn't win the popular vote, but because after Jesse Jackson's campaign in '98, he says you need to allot delegates, not based on the person who got the most vote, but on a proportional amount of those who got the vote. So if you got over 15%, you would get delegates no matter what. And that helped get Obama in office. So you never can tell sometimes a little bit that you do here, how over time it might help exponentially.
Okay, good. I know we have left you, Mr. Scott, out of this. You've heard so much said. What's your overview on it?
Yeah, no, I think this is a very important topic for us to discuss, because there is a direct connection. You can look at the data and you can see that the communities that have a higher voter turnout get a lot more investment. They get a lot more back from the government. Governments invest in communities where there's a higher voter turnout. So why do some of our less developed communities have a lower voter turnout? Part of that is these communities are also the ones that have a larger immigrant population. So people who maybe haven't gotten their citizenship yet, and even some people who have gotten their citizenship yet, just don't have that haven't decided to start engaging in the process yet. The other thing is that we have people who maybe were previously incarcerated might be living in these same communities too. And some of them, although they've had their rights restored, may not be aware that their rights have been restored. They may not be confident that their rights have been restored because there's been a lot of news, a lot of talk about these lawsuits that are going on that are trying to make it so that people who have had their rights restored still can't vote. And that's what I would like to do as your supervisor of elections, is help to, start engaging these communities, help them feel like there's a sense of something that they have to gain by engaging in the process, to understand that for their neighbors who can't participate, that's even more reason for you to get out there and vote, so that the government agencies see you, know that you're there, and are investing in your community and making sure that your street gets the potholes filled like they do out in the wealthier communities. So, it's really about those little things, about putting that investment into those communities, making sure that we are working with the small businesses in our most disadvantaged communities and focusing on that economic development, because that's how we're going to get jobs in there. But it all starts with everybody who can vote, must vote. And as an elections office, we have to do that outreach. We have to do that education. We have to make the folks feel like they have a stake and understand that they are needed in this process.
Wow.
So you talk about citizenship, both
Yes.
of you. I do a citizenship drive every month, except COVID kind of threw us off or game a little bit.
I know.
I don't want to thank you for giving me that 100 applications this weekend. We had a drive,
Yes.
and I think we probably completed about 20 applications. And by the way, come October 2nd, the fee will go up to $1,154 from now $725, and you won't be able to have fee waivers even if you're low income. That's
So
what
people need
this
to do
government-
that now.
They need to do it
ASAP.
now. So I'll give an email address that they can send an email for us to send them the application, and that's simply dholness@broward.org, DHOLNESS @broward.org, or you can call my office at 954-357-7009. That's 954-357-7009. Leave a message if no one answers, and tell them you want to get your citizenship application emailed to you or picked up somewhere. And we will do it again this weekend at the Lauderhill Mall from 10 to about 2. Actually, there are a couple of shops in Lauderhill Mall that now have the citizenship application in the corner down towards the Jamaica shop, the Charlie's Pastry and all those restaurants. On the southwest section, there are 3 different stores, clothing stores, ladies' dress stores, the small outdoor places that have left the application there that they can pick up from. Someone in the mall will probably be able to tell them, and we have those delivered there for them to pick up. But again, dholness@broward.org or 954-357-7009.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because you mentioned that neighborhood. And actually, just want to give a shout out to one of 2 of our sponsors today. One of our sponsors today is Charlie's Pastries. And Pat and Charlie, you probably know them for years too. They heard that this show was happening and they wanted to be part of the whole parcel of things. No, Pat is, but Pat says hi, so forth. Just so you know, folks, Charlie's Pastries have been around since 1983. When I came to Florida here, it was one of the primary, it was the primary place. It was in Publix, Winn-Dixie, all over the place. They still are, I'd say, with a couple other people, are the original people. What I like about them is that they are a family-operated business. Yes. Actually, Pat went to church with me, and Pat used to talk about doing 4 days on and doing 3 days at late at night, sometimes kneading patties, so forth. So Charlie's Pastries at 12th Street, and they have other locations up there in, I think one is in Oakland and one's on Commercial. Okay. Folks, do support them. They're our people from all neck of the woods. And we have one other sponsor, and I'll mention him as we go on. I just want to say hi to...
I will leave, and by the way, I'll leave some application at Charlie's Pastry.
You'll leave some application at Charlie's...
I will drop some off.
You'll drop some application off of Charlie's Pastry. Awesome. And they have actually 3 locations. One is in Lauderhill, the other one's in Sunrise, and the other one is in Oakland. All right. Red Fox says hi from cloudy Sunrise, Florida. Kenesha Austin says, hey, let's go, Joe. And she didn't tell where she's coming. And of course, Red Fox, DH Holness, Broward org, censorship forms. Oh, she's asking for forms. So that's another thing. So that seemed to be a hot topic. And just remind folks to be, because that censorship drive is important. And I remember when it was like a couple of $100. It's now $700. What date is it?
$725 as of today. It's $725. Come October 2nd.
Ooh.
October 2nd, right around the corner, it will be $1,154.
And there will be no...
The Trump organization has done, our government.
But let me ask a question. How do you get out people? Honestly. And I'm going to...
I said organization, right?
I heard that.
Okay.
I heard that.
Because that's really
folks,
what it is, right?
and folks,
It's not really the government,
and
right?
folks, I'm going to have a disclaimer to that. Neutral. Okay. But going back... Yeah, right. Right back to presumptive... I like to call it... Well, I'm sorry. Let me just say then, Mr. Joe Scott.
Yes, sir.
What do we do to get folks who are, because they'll tell you in all kind of different colors in our community, they're with what's going on with the present government, that the citizenship drive, they are scared that they, and I know this is your pet thing, but I want to get Joe in the conversation. How do you get people out from being scared that they might end up at Chrome as opposed to be going into and being sworn in as a citizen, or even before they get there, becoming legal? How do we do that?
It's a shame that we are, living in a time where our government is making us feel like we have to be uncomfortable engaging with our government. We need to be a lot friendlier to immigrants in this country, because we are all, everybody, no matter how long you've been here, almost all of us are immigrants, unless you come from one of the native indigenous groups. The rest of us all came from somewhere else. So one thing is we need to change in our government at the national level so that we don't have this anti-immigrant sentiment going on that we have right now. So that's the biggest thing that needs to change. So outside of that, I'll say, listen, as your supervisor of elections, one thing I'll focus on is trying to get out there and make sure everybody feels included and make sure everybody feels comfortable. We need to make our system more accessible for everybody. Demystify the whole process, make it transparent, make sure everybody understands what their voting options are and how easy it is to do whatever it is you want to do, whether you want to register to vote. It's really easy to do from your app. Go to browardsoe.org, but we need to be more clear and make it that much more simple for people to go in, register to vote, also requesting your vote by mail ballot, tracking your ballot as it goes through that process so that you know that your ballot was received and counted. And if we do that, and if we can improve that process, I think we'll just start to see a lot more engagement from the community. Because those folks who are already, everybody who's in this process where they haven't decided to go through with getting their citizenship, they've got folks around them, whether it be family or friends, who've already gone through that process. So if they see them becoming engaged, active citizens, it's going to make other folks want to get involved and start using those systems and those processes as well, and start making sure that their voice is heard in their community too.
Appreciate it. Red Fox, thank you so much. She says, I'm giving out his his email address. I am already a citizen, up and ready to vote, and she's going to give it out to everybody. I know this is your pet project. Take it away.
Well, it is an important project, and let me tell you what happens when you become a citizen. It benefits the community. What we find is when someone becomes a citizen in this great country, they actually put more roots down. They tend to get better paying jobs, be more productive, be more engaged in civic life within the community, and help to build the nation. And in fact, they don't send as much money outside the country back home as they do when they're citizens here. So it is an economic development tool for a country. And understand that when you look at what they now term essential workers, a substantial percentage of those folks are immigrants.
Yes.
Without them, the country wouldn't run. You wouldn't be able to live the life you live. They do work that many people who are American citizens won't do.
True.
They're not gonna go cut no sugar cane, huh?
Yeah.
Or pick any apples or any of that stuff. But immigrants do that. So we ought to value them and understand that many have been here for many years, not, as you say, illegal, but undocumented, because no human being is illegal.
It's illegal.
But they're here without documentation, many. And I think that it's full time that we do immigration reform to where we can get these folks normalized, naturalized to be citizens of this country. They have contributed greatly. Many of them have children here that are grown children serving in the military and serving in every aspect of life. It's beneficial for us to ensure that we are engaging the entire community and empowering people to be more productive. If we have more productive people, we have greater prosperity. Joe alluded to the fact that we have communities where people might be ex-felons. We arrest and put too many people in prison for minor stuff. It makes us less productive, less prosperous as a country. And we must compete with the rest of the world. And every person must be given every opportunity to be as productive a citizen as they can, to build and make our country even greater than it is.
Awesome. Andrea, how do you do from UK? So somebody's watching us from UK. That aspect of it that you mentioned in terms of people who, they talk about people marginalized. There's so many people that as soon as you hit that thing, felon, it suddenly it's like like you said, a no vote for folks. But beyond that, here's my question: when we're looking to go, when we're looking for votes for election, for any, and that goes for any candidate, they do the groundwork. They go into the communities and they. I've been involved in that. You select a block, or you go there this week, or you go there that week. Are we doing anything to reach out to these folks who need to become citizens or need to get themselves properly documented, like having a team of people who go out to the community, who kind of spread the word? Because many of these folks are not the ones who go and take up a computer, who some of them are going to go online and do anything like that. How do we... I know we have drives like at Lauderhill Mall, but how we...
So I'll tell you what I do.
How do we go out and get them, like when we're trying to go out and get the votes?
So here's what we do. Our churches are usually is a great backbone for our community. So we deliver to most of our churches, especially churches that have many immigrants, citizenship application and a date for the citizenship drive. The churches are one of our major conduits. We also put them in beauty shops, beauty salons, barber shops, and elsewhere. It's difficult for us to really target someone or a community specifically as we can with vote. When I can tell you who lives where from the voter file.
Yeah.
And whether you're a voter, your age, whether you're a Democrat, whether you've voted in the previous elections or not. So I can target you more directly by coming to your door and says, hey, Joe Scott, will you vote for me? And I know you're a Democrat, okay? We can do that. We're doing citizenship's a little different. On the issue also of returning citizens from our prisons and jails, the ACLU, by the way, just put together about $1 million to get many of these citizens their rights restored, and hopefully that will be done. I spoke to the clerk of the courts, Brenda Foreman, this week, and they're in the process now helping that. So there's a process going on to get the rights of those who have been previously incarcerated restored to where they can become full citizens again. And it's not fair that someone does something and we say, well, we're going to put you in prison, you're going to pay a penalty to society. And they go and they spend 2, 4, 5, 6, however many years they spend behind bars. And then they come out and we don't restore them. We said this is your penalty. This is the price you pay.
Right.
For not going along with what society expects you to do. And then you come out and for the rest of your life, you're pretty much in jail. You're put in these, not physical bars, but you're behind bars pretty much because hard to get a job. You can't vote. You can't get certain licenses, even though
But you're still expected to be a productive citizen.
So one of the things that I've done, and I'm going to enhance this also, we have a thing called Ban the Box that I was a leader in getting that done in Broward County. We're at Broward County government. When you come to fill out an application to get a job, we no longer ask you whether or not you're being arrested or incarcerated. That's not on the box.
Awesome.
That box is gone. Okay? You then come in,
Background checks will
look
take
at
care
you,
of that.
look
Yeah.
at you, see what you can do. Do you qualify? And if the job entails where we need to look at your background for security purposes or other, we then do a background check after we've come to where, yes, you're the candidate, and we might have 2 or 3 candidates. You 3 now will do background checks on you. And here's the other piece of it. When a background check comes back, if something is there, you get a chance to do a rebuttal.
To explain.
You can say, hey, well, that happened when I was 17 years old. I was running with some bad kids. I wasn't fully developed, didn't understand. I paid a price. Here's where I am now. I came back out, went to school, improved my life. I have a family now, and need an opportunity to be able to take care of my children. And we can then say, okay, seems like as if you've done what you needed to do. You're no longer a problem for society. We give you a chance to get, and I'm going to work to enhance that because now it's the county government if you apply for. But what I want to do is any company that contracts to do business with the county, I want them to do the same thing. If you're going to get our business, we want you to ensure that you're helping to restore people's life and build and strengthen our community.
Awesome. I just want to shift that gear a little bit and go back to our Democratic nominee. Question is, that office has been, for unfortunate or not, been a subject of debate, and we know how that the last supervisor election, how that ended. And for some people, there is almost a no confidence in that position. So direct question to you, and that was something that, again, it's funny about Facebook, as soon as a flyer goes out, these people start inbox you, stuff. So I'm just putting it out back to you. How will you restore that confidence in that position?
I believe it's all about just performing, the operational excellence, and not giving people any excuses. Now, one thing about some of what you may have seen in the news is that it's really obvious that some of that was driven by politics. It was driven by partisanship. It's about taking very minor human error mistakes that happen in any organization, that, by the way, happen in election offices around the state. But because it's Broward County, and because of the complexion of this county, because of the makeup of this county, we're going to make it seem 10 times worse than it really was. And, so we have to be aware of that, because one thing that, I don't think anybody coming into any particular job can guarantee is that there will always be perfection. But what we can guarantee is that we're always going to do the right thing. We're always going to work hard to make sure that we perform at the highest level of professionalism, that we are giving the public the service that they expect at a level of excellence that they expect. And that level is a lot higher than what we've seen in the past. So yes, we have work to do. We have to get that up. But at the same time, we can't allow folks to come from outside the county who just want to create, trouble here in Broward County. We can't allow those folks to come in and start listening to them over the folks that we have, the leadership that we have right here in the county. We got to trust our people to do the right thing and let them do their job.
Another question, because in the age of technology, and especially with COVID-19, another thing I heard about you was you are the man that's going to bring the technology. And
yes.
And now more than ever, if you can't Zoom, if you can't Skype, if you can't Microsoft Meeting, if you can't do technical things, you can't operate within this new normal. And part of the issues over the past have been glitches and itches and things with the technology. How are you approaching that from your side?
Yes. So I think it is critical. And I think part of what moved me to run for Supervisor of Elections is that it occurred to me that that is the critical skill set that is needed in the Supervisor of Elections. Technology, the march of technology is not going to slow down. And there's an expectation for the younger generation.
Yes.
There's an expectation that we stay on top of these changes and that we are, as an elections office, we have to operate in a way that our constituents are used to. So we can't leave behind the older generation. We have to make sure that we're moving at a pace that isn't too fast for them, but we also have to move at a pace that is making sure that we're meeting the expectation of the younger voters, the new people that are coming into the system. So we need to have systems and processes in place that they're used to interacting with. They're used to engaging with with mobile apps. I'll just say that. So our website needs to be very mobile friendly, more mobile friendly than it is right now. At the same time, when people go, they expect a level of communication and engagement that we don't have right now. So if you go and order a vote by mail ballot, people want to have these updates. People also have a short attention span, so they need reminders. Once you have that vote by mail ballot, we need to continue to contact these people and say, hey, don't forget to send that ballot back, and then let them know that they got the ballot back. And there's multiple ways we can communicate with folks. We can use robocalls. We can use text message. We can use emails. We can have our own SOE office app that people can download on their phone, and then we'd be able to send them push notifications to their phone, notifying them of the, giving them those reminders, but also notifying them of where their ballot is in the process. And also communicating with these folks to let them know what their options are if that ballot is, say, if their ballot was lost in the mail. If you say, hey, we haven't gotten it back, in some cases people, will find out that, they mailed the ballot back. It's been 2 weeks ago and the system still says it's not. So what most people don't understand is that you still have a right to vote. You can go to the polling place and you ask to vote on a provisional ballot. You let the folks know at the polling place that you sent your ballot back, your ballot hasn't been received. They're able to go in the system and confirm that. They'll say, yes, we saw that we sent your ballot, but we didn't get it back. You let them know, yes, I mailed it, but it never arrived. So I want to vote today, and I still want to participate and practice my right to vote, and you have a right to do that. So when you go and request a vote by mail ballot, you don't lose any options. You actually have more options because now you have the option to vote from home.
But can I interject a little bit though, right there, because your president says that's a setup for double voting. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think it's important. The way that I explained it was that if you've already mailed back your ballot,
yes,
and you're tracking,
yes,
and you see that the SOE, the Supervisor of Elections, has not received that ballot, and it's election day, you can go vote. You can go and vote. Now, if your ballot has been received, by the way, they will tell you that when you show up, and they won't allow you to vote. They will tell you because we can track that in real time. There's a barcode on the vote by mail envelope, and when the Supervisor of Elections receives that envelope, it gets scanned in and it's instantly updated in the system. So if you show up to your polling place, we can tell you, your vote has already been received and counted. You cannot vote again. But if your vote has not been received and counted, then absolutely you can. And then let's say that vote by mail ballot comes after that. Once you've checked in at the polling place, if we get your vote by mail ballot after that, then that ballot will be discarded. So that's where I want people to understand, because in this time of COVID, we really want people to use the vote by mail system.
Yes,
it's the safest way to vote, and it's also the way to make sure that we get a higher turnout. We get more engagement when people vote by mail.
And let me add
I just want to interject because Red Fox say, "You go, Joe." she says, "Amen, Joe." Real quickly, hold that thought, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make sure that the two sponsors for this program today have been recognized. So our next sponsor up for today has been All Your Needs Insurance. Kitson Barnes, Mary, you're familiar with Kitson Barnes, right?
Yes.
Kitson Barnes, All Your Needs Insurance. That's another one thing I like about this. This is another family-operated business. It's a wife, it's a husband, and his daughter that's involved in this Kitson Barnes Insurance. And they're all things insurance in terms of they've been in business for, I think, He says he has experience over 50 years, and I know because he used to do insurance in Jamaica. What he does is to go around and find the best possible rates for you, and in other words, he's not tied to any particular insurance company. So once you deal with the Kits and Barnes, he's got to get the best deal for you. So he does any kind, like it says, all your needs insurance. So all your needs, go see him. You can call him at 954-742-0550. So Kits and Barnes, and if you see that ad there, you can go back, look at it. He is in Broward County also, and yes, folks, they're all Jamaicans too. All right, just to add that for Jamaicans.com. I know, Joe, you're not Jamaican, but we have made you one. So that's fine. Honorary Jamaican.
Yeah,
Mr.
man.
Mayor. Yeah, man. Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
So I wanted to add to Joe's comment that vote by mail is actually, in my mind, the best option. And here's why. You get that ballot in your home. You can then go through and see who's on that ballot. Do any research you need to do. Talk to your friends, your neighbors, and see, hey, is Holness the best guy for this position? Yeah. Or is the other person better? And then you can turn it in if you want, or you can go in and vote anyhow. Because you get a vote by mail ballot doesn't mean you can't go in and vote early vote or vote on election day. You still can do that, no restriction. And let's debunk what the person in the White House is saying, that you can vote twice. You can't, not in Broward County, okay? And in most places you cannot, because there's a tracking mechanism, as Joe said, that once you vote once, that's it. You can't vote more than one time. It would be like, well, I can go vote today and go back tomorrow and vote again. You can't. It doesn't work that way. Right. So it's simply not true. It's not true at all that you can vote double time. But again, it's disinformation. It's fear mongering. It's trying to get to tamper the vote down. And don't let that phase you. That happened in 2016. Don't let it happen again. Right. Okay. Let's make sure you go out and vote. Vote every which way you can go vote. Okay. Yeah. But you can only vote once. That's the law. If you do it, try to do it and try to cheat, there's consequence to that. So vote once, but ensure that you vote every time.
And let me just say one more thing about the vote by mail. Those ballots are actually going out in a week and a half. So if you haven't requested your vote by mail ballot, now is the time to go ahead and do that, because we're sending those ballots out in a week and a half. And we want to make sure we already have you on the list so you can be part of that first group of people that gets them. And there's no need to wait. I think more than 90% of us have already made up our minds about which way we're going to vote this fall. So as soon as you get that ballot, fill it out, send it back. No need to wait. Don't wait till the last minute to see if anything's going to change. The candidates are set. We can make that decision right now and send it back in. And hopefully everybody knows the right decision to make at this point after everything we've been through these last few years.
That's right. The overseas ballot will go out shortly. So if you're overseas and you're an American citizen, you should get your ballot within a couple of days. And the weekend of the 24th, the local ballots will be mailed. And I think there's over 500,000 people who have already requested vote by mail ballots. We're expecting a large percentage of people to vote by mail again this time because it's safe, it's secure, and it's a great way for you to vote.
Awesome.
Can those ballots be dropped off at the Supervisor of Elections?
Yes, it can.
Office?
Yes.
There's 2 offices where you can drop them off 24 hours a day. That's at the Lauderhill Mall, where the Supervisor of Elections office is in the rear, and downtown where my office is, at 115 South Andrews Avenue on the west side of the building. It won't be on the Andrews Avenue side, it will be on the 2nd Avenue side, but there's a box out there that's monitored with cameras, with security personnel inside that's looking at those boxes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you can drop it off 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at those sites. And then come early vote, the 22 early vote sites, you'll be able to drop your ballots off there also.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
those 22 early voting sites, it'll be from October 19th until November 1st. And that'll be 12 hours a day. It'll be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Right.
October 19th until November 1st. And you can always just take your ballots in, make sure you have them signed, and you should be in and out of there in less than a minute. You go in, you drop off that ballot, and you're on your way.
So as we seek to close up, Joe, we're heading into November is approaching fast and furious. We have an audience right now. What would you, in summarizing this afternoon, what would you want viewers, whether they're Jamaican, Caribbean, American, all over, to take from your candidacy for the supervisor election moving forward, and what they can get from you? Any summary you want to give, go ahead, and how they can reach you, and how they can impact your race. Go ahead.
Yeah. So my pitch is that really I'm the candidate that'll bring competence to the office. So I come from a background where I went to one of the premier leadership institutions in the world. Graduated from West Point. That's where I learned about leadership as well as technology and cybersecurity. And that's the competency that I bring. Over the past 10 years since leaving the military, I've been working in technology-oriented companies. I've grown and developed both as a leader, but also as a technologist and as a cybersecurity specialist. And that's the type of experience that we need in the supervisor of elections. We have to be able to integrate new systems to make our system more efficient, more sustainable. And we have to integrate those new systems without having the type of hiccups that we always see in the news. Broward County is too important to the country for us to have hiccups here in Broward County. We need to get the highest turnout possible from this community in order to make sure that we have the outcome that we want for the state of Florida and for the nation as a whole. So we need to make sure that we have really good, competent people in the Supervisor of Elections office. And I think if you take a look at the choices on the ballot, you'll see that I'm the one who really has the background that we need to get the job done the right way.
Awesome, awesome. Mayor, take us home.
So
I just want you to touch on a couple other things, because there's a few things beyond election, beyond census, beyond census drive. People are talking about, we're still in the heights of COVID. Broward County and any kind of assistance that the county can give, whether that information, whether it's information or direct assistance or anything. If you have that information, now's the time. You can plug that for us. And any other drive that you want us to know about, this is your turn.
So I got to tell you that in Broward County, we've done a tremendous job. We've asked everyone to wear facial covering. As you can see, I have my mask, and I'll put it on shortly. We've asked for social distancing, and we're socially distancing here in the studio. But there are a lot of people out of work. There are a lot of businesses that are struggling. We want to do everything we can to help them. This past week, we put $25 million out to help people who couldn't pay their rent. In the coming week, we'll be allowing for small businesses or micro businesses, especially the very small ones who never got any of the CARES money. We will be putting some money on the street for them, small amount. It's going to be up to about $15,000. Then we're going to target those high poverty, high unemployment zip codes. We move that up to 10. Those will be focus areas. We'll go beyond that also. They can go to broward.org/econdev, broward.org/econdev to inquire as to when the funds will be available and what the process is. broward.org/econdev.
Awesome, awesome. Folks, thanks again for joining us. Time seemed like it goes by so quickly. We just want to thank you again for joining Jamaicans.com. Like we said, Jamaicans.com is the premier platform for all things Caribbean, Jamaica, beyond. Okay, we want to thank again Mr. Joe Scott, and I'm wishing you all the luck, sir, for the upcoming elections. And from the looks of things, hey, I can see you being around for a while. Amir, thank you so much for being here. I just want to also thank our two major sponsors today for the show. First of all, again, Charlie's Pastry for sponsoring the show. They didn't hesitate when they hear this was what we're talking about, and the people who are going to be on the show. And so at this time, we just put up the information for Charlie's, please. Charlie's Pastry. How they can get there. 3 stores in the community. There's one in Lauderhill, the original one in Lauderhill. There's another one on Commercial, and there's a third one in
Oakland Park and 68th
So
Avenue.
it's in Lauderhill. It's 4265 Northwest 12th. Well, everybody knows the 12th Street
That's
location.
the Lauderhill Mall.
The Lauderhill Mall. There is yes, and that's where you can also get your Citizens Drive stuff. Kits and Barnes, all your need insurance. He's right here on University Drive. So if we could put that up again, please. Kits and Barnes, all your needs insurance, and it's another family-owned business. It's another small business. And I just want to put a pitch out for both companies because they're small business that are locally owned and have been around for years, and we really need to support them. So again, Kits and Barnes, thank you for being one of the important parts of the show. We appreciate it. Go see them, like I say, on University Drive. And Mr. Mayor, as always, thank you for being on the show. We appreciate your being here. And we can't help but tell you, we know you're doing a good job. And we just want you to continue your of the people, doing the people's work. And the response has been amazing. And folks online, if I did not get you because of this conversation and how we move fast, there are several comments I have not touched. We will definitely get to you folks. Once again, this is Mr. Scott. Thank you for being in Baltimore, but coming out and making sure that you join the conversation. We appreciate you. Folks, as always,
Next time I'm looking for my red stripe beer, okay?
yes, he
I
doesn't
like the
want
new
no
flavors.
Merlot, he wants red stripe beer.
Yes, it's
But
a bar. You gotta have red stripe at Jamaican.com.
at Jamaican.com in Merlot, right?
Bar, you gotta have and you know what? I like the new red stripe. I had some in January when I was down there. They have a lime one, they have a ginger one, and they have a sorrel one too. I mean, that stuff is amazing.
Okay, awesome.
And I don't drink much. I drink one, maybe a half sometimes.
Well, I don't drink much. This is, so I'm nursing this. But folks, as always, we're here every Sunday at 5 p.m. Jamaicans.com. And this is Luke Ballentine from Moment to Remember. Photo, video, and print. God bless. See you next week.